part of living life is like experiencing life, you know?
Absolutely.
And everybody lives life, but I don't think everybody really experiences life. And part of that is having these adventures where, you don't have expectations. You don't know what's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
you have that calling and, or whether it's the obedience, like you're gonna go and I think especially when when it's something to do good and bring glory to the kingdom, it's so fulfilling. Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm your host today, Caleb Kolb, and I am excited because today we have a good friend, not only of mine, but of Center for Victory, Craig Falk. And Craig is a controller at Medart, which is a machine manufacturing in Elwood, Pennsylvania. And you handle a lot of things there as far as finances, payroll, HR, IT systems, everything rolls through you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you wear a
Yeah.
lot of
That's it.
hats.
Yeah. We have to wear a lot of hats. We're a small company, but so we got to spread ourselves thin
I know
quite often.
I
So,
know exactly what that's like because I mean, I remember when we were prepping the whole conversation, folks, today is about our trip to Honduras and specifically Craig and your trip to Honduras, not only once but twice. But I think I found out you wear a lot of hats when we were prepping for this, when we were talking about the entrepreneurship journey, and we were talking about QuickBooks, and you and I started nerding out about QuickBooks, and
yeah.
I know like in the nonprofit sector, like I wear a lot of hats when I'm in that world. So I know what that's like, and God bless you for it, man, because that's a lot of work. But I'm excited to talk to you today because we recently got an experience. Got This is my first time getting to go to Honduras on a mission trip, and this was your second time, correct?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
yeah, well, take me back. What I wanted to do, or what I want to talk to you about, is just take me back to the first trip because I remember I was really intrigued with um, talking to you and getting to know you more on the trip that we went together. And I remember you saying that that first trip that you went on, that was a calling for you. You felt very called to go to Honduras, and so I just wanted to talk to you about that first trip and kind of your takeaways and what led you there. So with that, I'll open it up to you.
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting because I was very casually interested in going to Honduras, and I've been working with Eric for quite a while here now and everything, and I can tell you he's really helped me a lot in my personal growth. I've always been very much a homebody, very much not a risk taker, and I'm in my 50s and I'd never really left the country other than going to Niagara Falls or very close by, and didn't even have a passport or anything. So they had a meeting to see if people were interested in the mission trip, and I wasn't even like thinking about that meeting that day. I went to church and came out of church, and they'd said that there was the meeting for the Honduras mission trip. So I casually just kind of showed up, and wow, it was just incredible experience because I walked into this room full of people, and uh, and I was just immediately overwhelmed with emotion. And it was just funny how it hit me because, and it immediately hit me as this is the body of Christ, and we all have a piece of that. You might be a hand, you might be a foot, you might be a eye, but when you put us all together, it really makes something great. And the minute even as I was like going from my seat, I was just overwhelmed. I almost had chills, and I was holding back tears in my eyes. Just and I'm like, what is going on? But I was just overwhelmed with the spirit just from this group of people, and like from that point, I mean, I knew I had to go. I mean, I knew that there was no saying no to this trip. So it was I knew right from the get go.
You were in.
it was a big yes.
And that's really interesting. I mean, I love that because especially like you were saying, you're stepping out in faith because for you, like you said, this is the first time, not only leaving the country, but like really leaving the country. I mean, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you'd gone to Niagara Falls before, so this is, completely different culture, different language. So I'm sure there was a lot of, things that stretched you and things like that. And I want to get to that, but that first trip, what was the big takeaways from that? Like what when you came back and you decided, okay, I'm going to do this again. What made you feel that way?
Well, it was funny that I mean that's a totally different story how I ended up going again. But just to recap real quick, like coming back from that first mission, I was just so full of spirit. And, I'd ask people to pray for me and everything. And, I'm a little older. I'm thinking, am I going to die out here in the Honduran sun? You know how hot it is.
Oh
It's
yeah.
pretty overwhelming. So I'm worried about my body. I'm worried about my mind, everything else. And so I had asked for prayers for my body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah.
And what really end up happening is your spirit just ends up soaring, and to the point that it lifts your mind, it lifts your body to a place that you didn't know existed. So, uh, so coming back, that was pretty awesome. But you know, so when this kind of came up again this year, and the like last year when we went, it was in July, and I kind of assumed we are going to be going in July again. And uh, whenever uh, whenever they start talking about Honduras, I kind of thought, well, I'm not going to be able to go this year. And it's really easy to fall into that. Well, I did that, and
Hmm.
I don't need to do it again. And it's like skydiving. How many people do you know that have gone skydiving and they go one time ever,
Right.
right?
Once is enough.
And
I'm good.
once is
Yeah.
enough. And I could have easily like fallen into that, but so here I kind of had it in my mind I wasn't going.
Hmm.
But here they ended up uh, moving the trip to September. And with Eric, we were going through the dream manager, and I'm trying to come up with all these other big dreams I'm going to do like this fall. And one of the things I was thinking about doing was driving by myself to the West Coast. And
Yeah.
so I'm like trying to make these other plans and you know come up with something great I could do. And then all of a sudden, here comes Honduras again. I'm like, huh, well, uh, why should I go? Well, why should I not go? That's what it really comes back to, is that why not?
Right.
And and at that point, I knew this was more of a trip of obedience, because even though in my mind I had decided I wasn't going, now it's like, well, I think God wants me to go.
Right.
So I definitely knew that I had to go. And that first time when I was stretched, and it was a big step of faith for me. Um, my mantra was from Second Timothy 1:7. God doesn't give us a timid spirit, but one of power, love, and self-control. Well, this one, it was kind of more about obedience.
Yeah.
And I really thought it was it was more along the lines of just how do I become obedient to something that I know I have to do. So
Mhm.
it was great how it all came together. Um, totally different team dynamics on the two trips. So
Yeah.
I can get into that a little bit too if you're interested.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh,
Let's talk about
but
it.
yeah, so the first trip I went on, it was quite a smattering of individuals. We had, I think, the youngest was, I think, a 12-year-old
Okay.
or 11-year-old, all the way up to like a 70-year-old. So it was like a multi-generational trip, and it was so exciting, so adventurous. It was almost like a big field trip for us.
Yeah.
This one was we had some. It was a smaller team, a little more focused, a little more focused on the plans and the different things we had to do. And it was pretty awesome that Eric, I consider him my mentor, even though he's younger than me.
Me too. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
but it was pretty exciting that he was going along, and I just thought, oh, that alone, I know it's going to be great. So,
Yes, that's worth it. So, were you were you nervous the first time you went, like having not experienced that, not been out, really being out of the country other than to Canada? I mean, were you nervous the
yeah,
first time?
I was nervous. It was kind of cool though. One of the other neat things about the first one was my son Aaron went with me, and I also had two nieces, Gwen and Sienna, that went with me too. So it was a little bit of a family affair,
Yeah.
which gave me a little bit more reassurance that this would be something cool for us all to enjoy together. So,
Yeah.
but I really didn't know what to expect that first time going in.
And that's like life memories. I mean, one of the things that I love talking about is making those life memories, and
Oh yeah,
everybody talks about like your resume, your work resume, all the experience you have, but like I think uh you know the life resume is just as important, and doing
absolutely.
things like I remember growing up going to Montana with my dad every year we'd go to Montana, and then the next year we maybe go to Colorado or somewhere, but we'd always keep going back to Montana and doing that with my dad and brothers, and that's something I remember, now. So it's really cool that you guys have, made that memory, and and then, like you said, you went back that second trip. It was a call to obedience, and so I wanted to really just talk to you about kind of the things that stretched you a little bit. Maybe some things that were a little bit more challenging that we had, kind of discussed previously. But what would you say, for this second trip going in? What were some of the things that was really stretching you, maybe taking you out of your comfort zone a little bit?
Uh, I mean, there's always something, a lot of the things we do there can make you uncomfortable. Like we go on home visits where you go in and uh, they'll take us to see a family that they know is in need, and we'll take a care package. And like Doug Duffy, the leader of the whole Honduran mission that we have going down there, it's like he has ESP, and it's like I can pick it up before he puts it down because I'll know like he's going to say, "Craig, can you pray?" And,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what's funny is normally I'd be very hesitant about that, but it's like when I'm called on like that, it's like no hesitation, no problem. I'll let God handle it and do my best.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, there's a language barrier too, right? Especially
Absolutely.
with going into those homes, like the English is not the first language, and so one of the nice things is I think the Duffy's handled great is all the interpreters. They do a
The
fabulous
interpreters are
job, and
fantastic.
they really get put to work on that trip, huh?
They do, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you have to be very cognitive of how you speak when it's going through an interpreter. You can't just start rambling and not stop. You have to be very pointed in pausing, allowing
Hmm.
the interpreter to speak. But that actually kind of works out well for me a lot of times because I'm always I tend to brain freeze once in a while anyways. So
I
it
get
kind of
that.
kind of lets me catch up to myself anyways.
Yeah, oh, I absolutely get that. And I agree. I think probably for me, the home visits was the one thing that took me out of my comfort zone because um I love meeting strangers. Like I like making friends. That's fun for me. But um, when you're there and like the mood and the vibe is a little bit different, right?
Mm,
Because these people are really struggling. They don't have the necessities they need, and so you're coming in kind of as this outsider, bringing it to them and wondering like, am I even going to be welcomed here?
yeah.
So maybe, yeah, talk a little bit about that. Maybe just your experience with those home visits, meeting the local people of Honduras and kind of how you were received. And because like I said, to me, that was one of the most impactful things of going into this. I was really hoping to just kind of be a fly on the wall. Like I didn't, like you were saying, like I didn't want to
No,
have, but then, when Renee calls on you, same thing. It's like, all right, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. So yeah,
yeah.
tell me a little bit more about your experience with the home visits.
Yeah, so the home visits, they can be a little challenging because but there's always somebody else there too that can kind of chip in too. So,
Hmm.
you know, you can kind of get stuck whenever you're trying to, throw blessings on a family, and you might not really understand their whole situation. Um, I can tell you it's easier with the kids because the kids, like, they just think we're like rock stars when we go down there, and that's pretty incredible. And I will convince Faith that she has to meet Honduran kids because I know how she loves kids and everything, and these kids are so like unspoiled by everything that we have with our
Hmm.
technology and everything, and they're just so appreciative of just spending time with them.
Hmm.
And um, and on the first visit, so one of the things we did was we went out and we did these dramas, which were like these little plays, and they were to music and everything. I, we went in, so we pull into the school on a bus, and we look out, and there's probably 300 kids. They all have uniforms on, and they're all under this like pavilion, like waiting for us. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are they going to boo us? Like, how are we going to be
Yeah.
received by these Honduran children? And and I'm thinking how cynical American kids can be, and how
Hmm.
you get that assembly and everybody's making snide remarks and everything else. And
Yep.
it was funny because we got there, and I'm like pretty intimidated, and I'm like, I'm I'm going for it, man. And so we go walking up this aisle of kids, and I start giving them high fives, and they are like fighting over who could give me a high five. They're like jumping out of their seats and
Right.
all trying to give me a high five because they're so excited that we're there. And I'm like, wow, like, this is
So
awesome.
encouraging. Yeah.
Oh
And that's
yeah.
like I was talking to my wife about this because we've done children's programs in the past, and typically like I'm a little more excited about it than she is, and she does a great job. But I
She
couldn't
did.
help, like, every time I saw her, she'd have, like, she's holding one child, she had another, the kids just were constantly flocking to her, and how
Oh yeah.
impactful that
Yeah.
that was for her. And you actually kind of made a good point, kind of a little segue into the next thing I wanted to ask you about, because I know we had touched base on this a little bit, and I really appreciate getting these times in my life when you said that the kids are unspoiled by technology,
Oh
and
yeah.
how important I think it is for the Westerners, like Americans, it is to be able to have a little bit of a digital detox, and how that really can reset you. So maybe talk a little bit about the impactfulness of the brief digital detox while we were
Oh
there.
yeah, that was huge. And like, I didn't have any self-service during the day. I didn't have anything during the day. So, I'd go back and check things in the evening when we go back to our hotels. But during the day, it was nothing. So
Hmm.
that was awesome. And I'm sure that's part of what you love to do too, when you go out in your, nature excursions and everything. But so I'm sure you're getting what I'm talking about. But
Oh yeah.
like, there, it's like that's they're because they're not engulfed in this whole, and I like just call it, a fake reality. Like,
Hmm.
everything that we deal, and it really hit me after coming back, like, everything I deal with all the time is so fake, you know, from TV to social media to internet feeds. Then, people are obsessed with gaming, obsessed with sports, and then just you take sports, and do sports really do it? I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers do anything for you? I mean, maybe they
Right.
do, but
Right.
you're a little different because your dad was a Pittsburgh Steeler. But but you see people get buried in their Steeler outfits and everything. They're just obsessed with it, like it's their god.
Hmm.
And really, and then you pile layers even on top of that, fantasy football and whatever. People are gambling on everything these days, and there's just so much going on. We're just layer upon layer of just fakeness and what we deal with. And it's not that we're the consumers, we're being consumed
Right.
by all this.
Yeah.
And so when you get out of that, and now it's just wow, it's real.
Hmm.
uh we need food, shelter, and clothing when we go out, and and you see people that's what they need: food, shelter, and clothing. It's a different world, and it's and that's why I think they're so untainted by the world that we live in.
Right.
It's all real. What they're dealing with is real. I mean, you saw them go out and slaughter a pig
Oh
while we
yeah,
were there.
absolutely. And
So
I think what for me, like I really learned this lesson 3 years ago. We were going to Montana, and I was trying to put together this Montana trip, and um but I was so stressed out. Like I had so much other stuff going on with work and like in my life, and I know Eric was busy. We were both going out, and I remember like debating like is this even the right time? Like, should I do this, or should, I have all these other commitments that I need to be focused on, like, and here I am going to spend 4 days in the backcountry Montana. Like, is that really what I should be
mm,
doing? And I remember I was talking to one of our board members, and he's like Caleb, he's like, just be where your feet are. That was
yeah,
it. Be where your feet are.
yeah,
And I think that was like that first kind of like pivotal like shift for me. I need to take that advice and like apply it as much as I possibly can, to my life, is be where your feet are. And I think that's one of the things
yeah,
that when you get the opportunity to have a digital detox where you're, not
yeah,
inundated with so much fake, BS, like it just it almost forces you to be present and live in the moment. And that's when I think, you know, hearts are changed, lives are changed. That's when, really you can just see the beauty of creation, and like how how awesome it is to just be able to experience that. And I think so many times we're just so wrapped up in the day to day and the emails and the notifications and the text
yep, yep,
messages and the calls and the calendar that we don't take enough time to just be where our feet are, be present with the people around
absolutely.
us. And that's, I think one of the most special things that leads to, like I said, I mean, that's what changes people's hearts. So, yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that.
Mark Twain said the two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Welcome to Vision Day.
And so so now take us, we're on the second trip now. And what what kind of things did were you involved in on the second trip?
So the second trip, what one of the interesting things we did was the trip to the Honda Palma factory.
Yeah.
And and again, that can be kind of intimidating going in there. You got all these people in this big meeting. You got the president of the company there, and he's got a stern look on his face, and
Yeah.
and and everybody else is just kind of looking and trying to understand. And you know, Eric wasn't too happy because they didn't do their PI in advance, and it was looking like it wasn't going to be very good at first there. And
Uh-huh.
but God had the wheel though, so it all turned around pretty quickly, and that was a great experience. And again, for me, I'm not a big talker or whatever. I never would consider myself a public speaker, but I got to become an international public speaker that day by
Yeah.
kind of giving a testimony about what Center for Victory has done for our company here at Medart and everything. And we've been working with PI, and um, we've installed core values with our company and just trying to make
Hmm.
everything a lot better. So I kind of just gave my little little, you know, testament of what that all has done for our company. And it was kind of funny because there was like this older gentleman that was there. He was like a board member, and I started talking to him through an interpreter, and he I felt like we had a nice little bond, and and he says to me, he's oh, you're a very great speaker, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I
you crushed it,
almost
man.
fell over.
And I don't think you didn't know going into that did you know that did Eric tell you ahead of time that he was gonna put you on the in the hot seat and you were gonna be
I,
public speaking?
he kind of he said something about saying something, and I, I didn't have an agenda or anything like that. So I had no idea. I was just kind of rolling with it. And again, I'm the type, I need to be very well prepared for something.
Right.
I'm not good at winging it. So,
Yes. Yep.
but yeah,
Yep.
I thought it went great. What,
Oh yeah.
one of the first things you do if you talk to the Honduran people, they're very proud about their country, and so if you well, the first thing I did was tell them how much I loved Honduras, and they all gave me a big ovation and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that was a great icebreaker.
And I thought too, it was so like heartwarming to see how excited people were that 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 somebody cared that they would come visit their not only their country but their town, their company, their school, their community, uh, just for the sole purpose of giving back, not asking for anything,
Yeah,
just giving back. And it just seemed like, everybody we met, it seemed like was excited
yeah.
to talk to you, to get to know you. Um, so yeah, so that's awesome. We actually just finished PI training today. So um, for those of you that are listening that are interested in learning more about the predictive index, you can go to centerforvictory.com and learn all about it. Yeah, little plug there. But so yeah, you had the opportunity to do the speaking engagement. That's all business owners, right? So that's Honda Palma. And there's how many people? Like probably 80 people maybe in that
I
room.
think there's about 70 or 80 people there.
All business owners. So, the I think one of the things that makes this mission trip unique compared to other mission trips that I've done is it's a lot about breaking the poverty mindset
Absolutely.
versus like capacity building, right? So we did do some construction, where they're building a church there, and so we had the opportunity to help with that. But I think the theme of it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is but breaking that poverty mindset. And so just
Yeah.
kind of if you could talk a little bit about how our team and the future of these Honduran mission trips that the Duffys are putting together, how are they doing that as far as breaking that poverty mindset?
Well, you were there the day that we went on the trip, so we had a great day where we took a bunch of youth and we took them to visit a technical school that we're hoping to put something together to sponsor some of these kids and everything. But yeah, I think they only see what, the way their parents are living, which is very difficult. Even somebody that has a good job, like at the Honda Palma plant, they're only making enough money to basically go halfway to a working wage, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a good job. So
Mm-hmm.
what you have is a lot of multi-generational families, because one person can't be the breadwinner for the whole
Mm-hmm.
family. So you have to have, in some shape or form, multiple people working, whether it's, the husband and wife, or a husband and his brother that's living there with his family, or whatever. But it's very tough. So, these kids growing up, they're like, well, what am I going to do? Maybe I can work at the Honda Palma plant. But I thought that really instilled a lot of hope in these kids, taking them out. Oh, well, I could become a mechanic. I could become this. I could
Mm-hmm.
become that. Um, I could become a machinist, whatever it is. There are other opportunities, and not only, what we don't want to happen is them to get trained and then leave the town, and go to the big city and make a little bit more money. What we're hoping is that by them getting some kind of training, that can build up the economy of the Rocco community.
Hmm.
I just think it's a great effort just for them to look outside of, oh, why can't do anything other than pick palms or whatever it
Right.
might be. um,
Right.
I- it just to give them hope and open up you know the doors of tomorrow for them.
Right. That they can see that there are other opportunities out there. And that's one of the things that's so unique because I love the entrepreneurial spirit and the entrepreneurial journey. And I've done all sorts of things, some successful, some not so successful. I had a microgreen company for a while that I didn't really know what I was doing, but I love that like that opportunity of like, yeah, I'm gonna figure this out and make it work. And you don't need a lot of seed capital to start, to start something, depending on what the industry is. But that was one of the things I thought was so cool of what the Duffys are doing is really um, empowering people that they can start their own business and really having
Yeah.
that business accelerator workshops that they can learn about the entrepreneurial journey and what it takes to run a business and helping find that like niche industry that they can be successful in. And so that was something that was really cool for me was the business leaders the business leaders event that we did that first day where everybody that has gone through the business development and business training um, to really help get some education into the next things forward. And I know they do all sorts of like almost like a Shark Tank, where they
Yes.
they can
Yes,
present
the
their
Shark Tank.
business ideas, and then get some seed capital to start a business. And the Duffys, they walk through them, so that walk beside them as they're starting that journey, and then continue to follow up with them. We did multiple visits of business owners
Hmm.
and asking them, okay, what are your struggles right now? And
Hmm.
like as a business owner, everybody's struggle is, well, I need to make more money, need more business, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but there's underlying root causes that, well, why do we not have more business? So, like, are we marketing to the right people? Is our product as good as it could be? Are we in the right, are we targeting the right demographic? And so that was really, um, I think really special for me to see, to kind of be a fly on the wall and watch that business development. And then people's eyes are open to like, oh my gosh, yeah, yeah, here's these new ideas, and they can keep keep pursuing forward. Um so we talked about the business leader training at Honda Palma, business leader training just for the community. There's a bunch of other stuff we did. What else? What else was something that kind of like that you'll remember, for years to come?
For years to come, there's a lot of great things. Doing that children's program and everything. I thought that was fantastic. Your wife Sarah did an awesome job, and you played a mean Noah, I have to say.
Oh, I like any opportunity to dress up, man. I love it.
Yeah,
I didn't realize like it's already Halloween. I don't have a costume for this Halloween. I'm not prepped for it, but I love any opportunity to dress up. So
yeah. But yeah, any of those things where you're in touch with the community and everything, and the kids, uh, they're just they're so excited everything that we do with them and everything, and you know and again, just working with those kids, they're just I think they're kind of in amazement with us there, because it's like, why are these people here to see us? And it's nice to be able to tell them, you are important. you know
yeah.
God sent us here to be with you.
Hmm.
And that was one of the things I thought was pretty interesting. On my first trip, I had taken down some of the Eric Carle books, The Very Hungry Caterpillar and Brown Bear, and they're written
Hmm.
in Spanish. And I sat down and was reading the books for these little kids. And this little boy, he was looking at me like I just fell out of a tree. Like I'm like reading the book, and he's not even looking at the book. He's looking at me.
Uh-huh.
And and because he was just, I think he was just so in amazement that probably especially a man would sit there and read a book for him,
Hmm.
because there's a big cultural thing down there too. The men are very hardened by it's tough. It's tough to make
Hmm.
a living. They struggle to make a living, and and I think the boys, as they kind of grow up and become teenagers, their hearts are very hardened. But
Hmm.
so if you can work with these younger kids and give them hope and feed their future, I think they're very excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very well put. And that's I know talking to you, that's you'd mentioned like the best part was working with the kids. Your favorite part was working with the kids and just inspiring and encouraging the next generation.
Yeah,
And I love that. So do you think you'll will you be going back a third time?
I'm pretty sure I will.
I know. What do you we'll have
Yeah,
to
I unless something terrible happens, or I don't know. You never know what the future, what's in the future, but I'm planning to go next year. So
awesome. We'll have to do you know the theme for next year yet, or is the theme something that just kind of comes along as it comes?
no, no idea, but I know it'll be in the summer, and it'll
Mhm.
probably be a larger group again. So and that's pretty exciting too when you get a lot of like the teenagers and things because you know I'm just an old gringo, and but whenever the teenagers and like the younger people go where they just the kids just flock around them like
Yeah.
the same way they did with Sarah. She's just the most amazing thing they ever seen. So
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
um
I get it. Yep.
it, and that was so cool when the first time when we did the children's program down there and everything on the first trip. We get done doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden the kids just all mobbed the team, and we're
Hmm.
like, what? At first it's like, what's going? And all of a sudden like 10 kids are all trying to hug you at the same time and everything, and
Yes.
it's just incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's actually good because that kind of brings it around. So you had talked about like, the very first meeting that you had at the church about going to Honduras and um so one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, what would you say to somebody who's maybe thinking about stepping outside their comfort zone? Maybe they haven't traveled out of the country. They're in that kind of same position you were that first year. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about doing a trip like this, but they're on the fence about it?
So a couple things. One thing, one thing I hate is expectations. I think so many times we totally psych ourselves out because we have these expectations in our mind of what things are going to be.
Hmm.
And I actually kind of came up with my own term of knower your expectations, and that's NO-ER, as in don't lower your expectations, but go in with no expectations.
I like
And
that. I might have
be,
to
be,
use
be,
that.
yeah, all yours. um, but because there's two types of expectations. The first one is, you know, your job. Your boss tells
Hmm.
you, you got to have these reports to me on Friday at by noon, and you know what he expects of you, which is good. That's a real expectation. But most of the time, I think what we have are false expectations where we come up with how something is going to be in our mind, and it's totally fictitious.
Yep.
And the how many times did somebody tell you, "Oh, this movie is so great," and then you go in thinking, you're going to see the greatest movie in the world, and you're like, "It was
Yeah.
okay,"
And the
because
exact
you're,
opposite, and you think I can't tell you how many times I've been stressed out about something or worrying about something. And every
yes.
time it's never as bad as I worked it up to be in my mind. Now, what I expected, it wasn't so bad,
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's the too low expectations, and
Hmm.
then a lot of times, we're saying, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And I think a lot of times that can even be self fulfilling. You know, you think of the worst case scenario that's going to happen, and sometimes you can make it happen.
Hmm. Yep. And I think too, it's just part of living life is like experiencing life, you know?
Absolutely.
And everybody lives life, but I don't think everybody really experiences life. And part of that is having these adventures where, you don't have expectations. You don't know what's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
you have that calling um and or whether it's the obedience, like you're gonna go and you're gonna live this life and experience it. And I think especially when when it's something to do good and bring glory to the kingdom, I think there's so much it's so fulfilling, right? And it's
Oh yeah.
I think for me, anytime somebody um I don't know if even people ask me if they should do something, because I'm always like, yeah, you should go do it, like you should totally do it. So um
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to Derek, our friend Derek, that he's going to be going with you next week, right?
Yep, yep, to
Uh,
Zion. Yeah.
to Zion. And I was asking him, oh, so you ready for this? You ready for that? And he's there, yeah, he's there. I'm not looking at any of the articles and different things because I don't want somebody else's perspective. I want to go in fresh and experience it on my own. So
Yes.
he's not doing all the research and all he's not worrying about that. He says, I got the guide,
Right,
which is you.
right. Yep, that's right.
and,
I'll
and that's
be I'll be
that's all
handling
he
all
needs.
that. Yep.
Yeah, he's just going to let it flow. And I love that perspective of just, yeah, you got to go in, just experience it.
Yep. And I think there's so much physical, mental health benefits, just that it's, you know, creates happiness, is just
Yeah,
to experience
absolutely.
that. So, well, Craig, what are your any closing thoughts, or anything else that you wanted to cover that I didn't cover on our Honduras on either Honduras trip that you wanted to talk about?
I, one of the interesting things I think is just the concept of multiplying blessings.
Mm,
And so when you came back, did you have anybody tell you, oh, Caleb, you were such a great guy for going and helping those people in Honduras? Because that's what people said to me when I came back. And I'm like, what? I am the one that feels blessed by the
100%.
whole experience
Yep.
because like when you are able to give a blessing to somebody else, whether it's helping a child or whatever, you are blessed in return immediately, and you're blessed by that person, and you're blessed by God. That person is also going to go out and feel like they need to bless somebody else. Those
Yeah.
blessings you get in return, you're going to give to somebody else. So it's this it's a whole spider web of these blessings, just boom, boom, boom. They're going everywhere. You bless somebody, they're going to go bless somebody else.
Yeah.
And I just love that concept of multiplying blessings
I
because you
think
come back feeling blessed and you're going to bless others.
I love that. And I think that's a maybe a life mantra, man, like, and you don't have to go to Honduras, folks, to bless somebody.
No,
You can do it right in your own neighborhood.
absolutely.
And I agree 100% with that. I might have to take that one too, Craig. I like that.
I'm
So,
glad I'm giving you some material.
well, hey man, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I loved you know getting to know you more on our trip, and really wanted to just after hearing your testimony and your experience with both trips, I really just wanted to just do a little debrief, and I'm hoping that people hear this and are encouraged and inspired and want to take that next step, whether it's Honduras or you know somebody in your local community. Go bless them.
Yep, absolutely.
So, well, thank you, Craig. And folks, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. Again, at Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. To learn more about Center for Victory, you can go to our website at www.centerforvictory.com. You can see all the events and happenings and everything we offer there. And until next time.